Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day. Today I'd like to make a first start video. This particular car is a 1966 Ford Galaxie 4-door. It's got a Ford 352 FE motor in it with a factory 4-barrel. And I'd like to get this thing started today, hopefully, and be able to drive it around the building to go work on it. Yeah, so my goal today is just to try to get it to move under its own power. And hopefully we're going to fix this up in future installments on my channel. But first thing I'm going to do is get all these rat turds and nests off of the motor. Like down in here, I want to get all the debris on the exhaust manifolds heads, so that when I take the spark plugs out, that stuff doesn't fall in there. So I'm going to take the spark plugs out and shoot a little oil down in there and give it a better chance. Alright, so let's get this breather off. See how many rat nests are in it. So there's the Autolite 4100. Set this over here. Alrighty, time to vacuum. Oh, gross. Sheesh. Hope I don't vacuum anything important. Gross. I should be wearing gloves probably. Disgusting. Looks like our throttle return spring is broken. Need to take care of that. get the leaf blower for the rest. Oh, geez. I wonder how much of that grass is getting up into the carburetor. Let me stuff some rags in it. Or I could just put this glove on it. I'm already going to rebuild that carburetor. But I already ordered the rebuild kit. It's just not in yet. Alright, that made a big difference. Alright, so I'm looking down here into the carburetor, and I feel like I see a lot of debris. Maybe there's a nest in there. I noticed when I took the air cleaner off, the air filter wasn't in the air cleaner, so it didn't keep the rodents out. So I'm thinking the next thing I'm going to do is take the carburetor off and vacuum out the intake if there is anything in there. Hopefully it's not a lot, but we'll see how it is. Alright, while I'm messing with the carburetor, I'm going to go ahead and spray some PB Blaster on these spark plugs. Just let them start soaking. Seems like the can might be a little empty, almost empty. But I'm going to go ahead and spray them. I'm not going to be stingy with it. If I can get my can to do right. There we go. Alright, I'll update y'all when I got the carburetor out. Alrighty, y'all. I think I got everything disconnected. Oh wait, no I don't. Kick down thingamajig needs to come off. Alright, let me try not to lose this clip. Let me get pliers. That'll probably be the better way to do it. Alright, let's try this again. I think I got everything disconnected. Oh, intake looks clean. So what was I seeing? Oh yeah, there is a, okay, cool. Yeah, I need to dump this carburetor right quick. So, is this in the way? Yeah, it looks like I missed something. Sit tight. Alright, I really think I got everything off this time. So let's see. Alrighty, we got it out. Let's take a look in here and see what we see. I don't know if you can see in there, but it looks like some more of that grassy, rat nesty stuff sitting on the secondary throttle blades. So it's entirely possible. Let's dump this out. Yeah, you don't want all that stuff in your motor if you can help it. So I'm glad we went ahead and pulled the carburetor. But I'm hoping that the secondary throttle blades aren't seized. You can see there's a little bit of corrosion here. Yeah, this carburetor needs a full rebuild and a good soak. So I'm probably going to need to rebuild this before I do a first start on it. But I tell you what we can do. So I can go ahead and put some oil in the cylinders, let everything be soaking and lubricating. And my, see, this surface rust is coming. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll have to replace like a throttle blade or something. But yeah, this stuff that was up against the motor looks pretty clean. And all this is cast aluminum, so I'm not worried about like the body being rusty. Shouldn't be. Is that some sort of date? 11/5/63. It's got some age on her. And then here's our throttle return spring. This is junk because this end is snapped off. Yeah, I'm just gonna need to do a rebuild before I do a first start on this. I don't want to get a bunch of junk in the motor. Alright, so we're going to put a little bit of automotive, or automatic transmission fluid, my bad, and down the cylinders. And what this does is get some oil into the motor. It's going to smoke like a freight train when we finally get it cranked up, but it's going to help lubricate everything, and if anything's a little bit crusty for sitting for so long, it'll kind of limit the damage. So next we're going to do the same thing with the spark plugs, just so when I do have my carburetor rebuilt and I can slap it on there, everything else will be already lubricated and will have been soaking for several days. So alrighty, on to the spark plugs. Alright, so I got all the spark plugs out. A couple of them were fighting me a little bit, but nothing stripped or broke or nothing. So they pretty much all look like this one. I've been cleaning them off with a wire brush. I see no reason to replace them at this point, just to do a first start. I don't see any reason they shouldn't work. I'm just going to clean them up and put some oil down the cylinders, some ATF fluid. So the next step, I reckon, is to see if I can turn over the motor. I'm gonna have all the spark plugs out when I do that. Get onto the crank pulley bolt and try to use a socket and rotate the motor, and hopefully it turns freely, and that would, you know, move the pistons up and down in their bore and kind of distribute the oil that I put in the cylinders. Just kind of coat the cylinder walls, hopefully. So that's the plan. Still got to put some oil on this side, but I'll get back to you when it's time to try to turn the motor. Okay, so I was having a hard time getting my socket and handle down in there on that crank pulley. So my plan is I'm just gonna take the fan off, and it'll give me a lot more working room to get my arm in there and stuff. All right, so I got this clutch fan off. It was just 4 bolts that threaded into here. So I guess now's the time to get my socket set up so I can see if this motor turns over. Alright, I got my socket on there. The bolt's tightening up on me. Just going back and forth on it. Let me see if I can work this thing loose. Alright, so it appears that the motor's stuck, and one of the spark plugs I pulled out had a little bit of corrosion on it. I was hoping it wasn't enough to be an issue, but that kind of gives me an idea that one of the cylinders probably got a little bit of moisture, whether the valves probably were open, either intake or exhaust, one of them, and some moisture was able to get in there. It could have been if the intake valve was open and there was rats living in the carburetor and they were using the bathroom in the carburetor, that could be an issue, moisture getting down into the cylinder. So that could be what we're dealing with, or it could just be normal, or it could be seized, who knows. But worst case scenario, I have another motor that'll fit in here, but I'm not giving up hope on it yet. I'm gonna let it soak with automatic transmission fluid in the cylinders for about a week, and hopefully that'll do the trick. I'll be able to use I haven't used the starter yet, so I'm scared to do that because I heard you could break stuff because starters have so much torque on them. But the plan right now is just let everything kind of marinate and try to get in about a week. So I'm gonna top everything off with ATF and just finger thread the spark plugs in there just to keep stuff out of there, and try again in a week. So I appreciate it. Hey guys, I'm back at it on the Galaxie. Trying to get this thing started today. At least, see if maybe it'll drive around the yard. If nothing else, I'd like to hear it at least try to start. I rebuilt the carburetor, let it soak for a couple weeks actually. The secondaries on it were stuck, and I had to do some soaking on that and some encouraging. Not certain that carburetor shouldn't be replaced, but for now it's going to be all right. It's got new gaskets and stuff like that. Put some new springs on here. This accelerator cable's kind of sticky. I put some oil in it, tried to get it working better. It's definitely working better. What else? I capped off some of these vacuum lines because rats had chewed through some vacuum lines, and I'll just have to deal with that later. But for now, I'm getting rid of the vacuum leak. Had to replace this hose right here, this vacuum hose, because it was all dry rotting, cracked. Would have been a vacuum leak, and that actually goes to the transmission. You can see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this rubber line right here. Let's see, what else have I done? This was chewed out. This is, I guess, something that would go to the heater core, and it's been blocked off by the previous owner. But some rats had chewed it along the hose. So all I did was I cut the hose back and then put this piece of pump pipe with a cap on it. Put the hose clamp back on it just to keep the coolant from shooting out everywhere. What else? I'm not confident in this radiator at all, but I'll probably put some water in it just to see how bad the leaks are. So next is the starter, I believe. Oh, and these wires, one of them has been chewed completely through. The spark plug wires. I've got some old wires sitting in the shed. I'll just throw on there. Just enough to get it to do something. So yeah, I'll update you when I get that starter on there. I'm just putting a used starter that I had laying around. Where did I put it? Yep, right there. So yeah, I'm gonna slap that on there and hopefully she'll start. All right, so I got the old starter out, and this thing was coming apart. I don't know if it was already coming apart, but I did hit it with a hammer kind of hard, and as you can see, that was loose. And you know, this housing right here is loose, and it's just a nasty old starter. So we're gonna throw on another nasty old starter, but a little bit better than this one. Okay, so I got the starter on here, and it was fussing at me a little bit, but she's in there. A couple of the bolts. One of the bolts, the hole or the threaded part that it threads into, I could not figure out why that bolt wasn't starting by hand. Turns out there was a nut, you know, something that mice had been chewing on, had fallen off, you know, when I was up there disturbing stuff, and got lodged into that threaded hole, and that held me up for 30 minutes. I could not figure out why, and it's an awkward spot, and I'm trying to hold the starter while getting this thing finger threaded, and managed to get the one next to it threaded, and then came back to it and found out there was a nut lodged in there. So well, anyway, got everything on, got a new starter cable connected, and I'm about to go take a break, get something to eat. I'll get back with y'all next time I'm working on it. All right, guys, so it's the next day. Yesterday we had to go deliver a piece of granite, and then it was dark. So it's the next day. I'm out here working on it. Things I've done off camera: I went and bought a fuel filter for the carburetor. Had to pick one up from the parts store. And what else have I done? I put an air filter into the breather over there, but we're not going to put it on the car yet. I replaced one of the spark plug wires because it had a mouse had chewed through it, and hopefully the rest of these will work good enough for now anyway. I'm getting really close to hooking up a battery and see if we can crank it. So, oh, and yesterday I did put the starter in there. Pretty sure I talked about that already. So yeah, I think the next step is put in, oh, I took the fuel line off the pump. I'm gonna crank it a little bit, and in the future I'm gonna hook a line right there that goes to a gas can so we can get some clean fuel going to it. So alrighty, I'm gonna throw a battery in it, and I'm gonna turn the camera on when I go to crank it. I also took the spark plugs out because there's still oil in the cylinders. I've got my battery hooked up. I went ahead and hit my solenoid with a hammer just to, I don't know, give it the best chance possible of not sticking. All right, let's see if we have any lights on the dash. I haven't even done this yet. Got the battery hooked up. Oh, still so gross in here. Keys in it. Ignition's on. Park. And I see 0 lights. I wonder if I have good connection. All right, guys, I'm gonna see what happened. Nothing. All right. I wonder if I got a bad ground on there. Oh, it's not staying in park. We got nothing, guys. Let me go double check my connections on the battery. Okay, so I cleaned up the terminals on the battery and the connections, and no dice. So my next theory is to clean up the this connection on the solenoid. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. This connection right here is kind of corroded, so that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, so I found out the majority of my issue was a dirty or a bad connection on my battery. I didn't, you know, tighten the fasteners on here because I've had the starter stick or the solenoid stick, and I want to be able to come over here and yank the negative terminal off quickly if I need to. But that also led to a bad connection, so I just kind of twisted it on there a little bit tighter just by hand without using any without tightening the fastener. So that actually got the thing working. So now I can crank it from the key, and it sounds like the starter is working as it should. So I turn on the switch. Seems like to me there should be lights on the dash, but I still don't see any. One thing I did notice is the fuel gauge does move to about quarter tank, and I think, you know, it's got some quarter tank worth of bad gas in it. But that tells me that the sending unit's probably good, so that's good. I was testing some things. I tested my lights. I have one light, I guess the bottom, because it's got 4 lights up there. All I had was driver's top, but I haven't tested the bottom because I imagine those are brights, and I haven't turned the brights on. So actually I'm curious. I'm going to do that actually. Turn the ignition off. See, it's not staying in park, and kind of makes me nervous, but pull the lights. All right, let's push. Oh, this thing's a little sticky. Oh, there we go. Freed up. All right, now I don't know. I wonder if my turn signals. Yeah, we got a turn signal. Let's try the right one. Would you look at that? We got turn signals. I am impressed. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I got brights. All right, so I need to hit that switch one more time. And now I got nothing. All right, so I'm gonna assume I just need some bulbs. All right, but as you can see, motor's turning freely. I have the spark plugs out, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop those back in. I already ran it long enough to shoot all the oil out of the cylinders. So yeah, I'm gonna put the spark plugs in. Then what am I gonna do? I reckon just put a little bit of gas in it, see if I have ignition. I've already sanded the points a little bit, just to kind of clean them up. Hopefully that's all they need. I reckon that's the next step. Okay guys, so I put a little bit of gas down the carburetor. Let's see what happens. Alright, we got it in park. Ignition. Sounds like it's dragging a little. I don't think we have spark. So yeah, I'm gonna troubleshoot this. Pretty sure we don't have spark. Okay, so I got my test light out here, and I'm pretty sure if I used my test light correctly that my coil is bad. That's not a big deal. I have a used coil here that I know works. I've used it before, and I'm just going to swap these out and go from there. Okay, so I replaced the coil over here. I just put the battery terminal, or the battery, back on the post, connected the battery, and everything's connected over there. I haven't tested it again with the multimeter yet. I thought I'd just go ahead and turn the key and put a little bit of gas down the carburetor. So let's see what she does. All right, we're in park. I wonder what happens when I give it some gas. Alrighty, so we still have an ignition problem from the sounds of it, so let me do some more troubleshooting. Alright, you guys will not believe this. Check this out. Sounds better after it warms up a little bit. The freaking radio works. I bet you the reason it sounds so crappy is because of the speaker, not the actual radio. But the freaking radio works. I'm up here messing with the tune. I just had it on full volume, and I think I tore it. It worked better the first time I used it. I think the high volume just made that paper cone turn to dust. It was playing some mariachi music here in a moment. I was about to start dancing. That just blew my mind. I also held my breath and then flipped on the fan, and it works, and it didn't even blow a bunch of crap at me. I mean, it did a little bit, but not as much as I was expecting. I would try the windshield wipers, but there's no blade on that one, and I don't want to scratch my windshield. So what else can I test? I think that's about it. I mean, I already tested the, yeah, there's a little vent things, but that's all mechanical, not electrical. So let me save my battery. And I tried cranking it again after replacing the coil, and I cleaned up my distributor cap, stuff like that. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and replace the points. I know I said that a second ago, but I tried the other thing first, just cleaning up that cap, because it was pretty dirty once I looked at it. So I'm going to replace the points and get back to you. Alright, so I just tried to start it again, and the battery went dead on me. And so I need to let that charge overnight. It's a good stopping point for me anyway. It's 5 o'clock. It's about to get dark. And I replaced the points, and I think I gapped them, you know, well enough to get it to run. Hey guys, so it's another day. It really feels like I never get more than a few minutes to work on it at the time, but I came out here, and I believe last time I already told you, I put the points in. I bought a condenser, put the condenser in, still no spark. I did a couple more tests and found out that or at least my best suspicion is that my coil is the problem. So we're going to replace the coil. I went ahead and bought a new one. So I'm gonna put this on right quick, and then I'm gonna let y'all see me try to start it.
Get these things figured out.
All right, so I'm gonna start recording.
Okay.
So we replaced the coil, and let's put some gas in it. And then you record this, Mama.
Okay, I don't have to hold it down, right?
No.
Okay.
It's recording right now.
Alrighty.
So yeah.
So you got no gas in the can yet? Oh, you poured it in the carburetor.
See, I'm gonna put a little in the carburetor. I've got this rigged up, but this isn't in the gas yet because I'm not sure I want it to start sucking yet.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Here goes nothing. Hey, y'all, watch this.
Am I supposed to go over here?
Yeah, watch out for the fire.
Let me go right through here.
That was anticlimactic.
How come I'm not seeing anything on the screen anymore?
It does that. It's still recording.
It's still recording though?
Yeah.
Well, how do I know what I'm looking at?
The bowl up yet, did you? You got to fill the bowl up before it's going to crank, right?
No.
Hit it again.
It should be trying to do something if it had spark.
Hit it again. Let's just pour some more gas in.
Woo!
Oh,
It's got a spark somewhere.
Yep.
yeah.
All right, you put this in the fuel?
Huh?
You put this hose in the fuel?
Still smoking.
Squirt a little bit of gas in. It's got to burn off all the oil that I put in it,
Oh, okay.
in the cylinders.
All right, go again.
Woo! Almost.
We got a spark.
We got a spark and we got some gas. We're going to have something in a minute.
Does that smell like burning oil or something?
Yeah, exactly what it smells like.
Well, that's what it should smell like.
Well, you got it going then. You want more gas?
Yeah, put a little bit more gas in.
Is there anything I can do to make the screen come back on other than turn it off and back on again?
You don't need to see on that screen.
I need to know what I'm looking at. You know, if I got it pointed in the right place.
Well, it's a pretty wide lens. You should be
It's
able
good.
to see
Just hold it
everything.
right
It's where I've been holding it, so.
Have you been cutting off footage and
Burn the
putting it
gas
back
I
on?
put in there.
I did once.
What you say, Dad?
Burn that gas I just poured in there.
All right.
Here we go again. All right.
Well, you might should work the throttle a little bit.
Do you want this in the can so it suck?
Yeah, try it. It's gonna take a minute for it to get primed.
All right.
It's doing better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some more gas.
Hey.
Clear?
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it off and back on again. Go ahead.
I'm gonna try again.
Running the battery down now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spray some brake clean in it.
Brake clean.
I think it has a lower combustion point.
I think it was combusting all right.
I have a question. I heard it sputter a little bit.
Yeah.
Could you tell me, is that coming from that exhaust manifold?
No, it's too hot carburetor.
Oh, it was?
But yeah, you got a little smoke coming from the exhaust manifold too, but
Well, the exhaust manifolds are coated in oil.
yeah, well, that's a little bit of smoke coming from over there, but you got, when it was sputtering, it was shooting back out the carburetor.
Oh, okay. wonder if the timing's weird.
It could be, but
let's just try this a little bit.
again. So you never did fill the bowl up.
Right.
So you got to get it primed. All right, go.
Getting all the cobwebs out.
You have to put the charger to the battery because you're running it down.
Yeah, I know.
But you give it a little more juice and a little more spin, it'll go better.
Yeah.
So you can bring that out here.
Well, just
Huh?
put a little bit of gas on it.
A little gas on what?
The
On
carburetor.
the battery? Well, is the butterfly supposed to be closed or open?
The choke.
Yeah.
If you pour the gas on the butterfly, the gas will get in.
Well, I know, that's what I've been doing, but it's closed right now. Is that the way it's supposed to be?
That's fine, yeah. I think it's fine.
Try it.
I wonder if it does need to be open.
Mm-hmm.
Can we jam like a screwdriver in there to keep it open?
Alright, try it.
Watch out for fireballs.
Woo!
Try again.
I think you need to leave that alone.
More juice in your battery. Let me go get the charger.
Cool.
But the characters were Sonny Pruitt and Will Chantley. They were truckers. And it was a story about how they got into all kinds of barroom fights and truck stop issues and stuff along the way when they're trucking stuff.
Yeah.
You get on the highway trying to make the deadline. We'll do it to it like Pruitt used to do it. It was just a shame.
Well, that was the punchline.
Yeah.
All right, so I got the battery hooked up, and it's time to turn the key, I think.
You got poured gas in it some more, we're good.
I did a little bit, but I'm thinking the carburetor should be getting some.
Let's do it. You got the video going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got the video on for your story and everything.
5 cents?
It's probably be a good idea, but
Well, we just run.
we got to paint the car anyway. It gets a little bit of fire damage, it'd be all right.
You'll be all right. Signal's on.
Oh yeah, it is.
There we go.
See if the right one works up there.
Huh?
Do you see a right signal?
No.
Well, that bulb's probably blown. All right, I'm gonna crank it.
All right, then.
I don't know if it's getting enough fuel. It might need some down the carburetor.
You sure you ain't flooding it?
I don't know for sure.
All right, I just doused it good. Try that.
So
It's hard for me to tell where we're too much gas and not enough.
it's hard for me to tell that all the cylinders are firing. It's got the original wires on it. I think the wires weren't bad enough to keep them from firing.
If it'll fire and run, even if it's missing on a couple of them, it ought to run.
Yeah,
But
I think it just needs some more rotations.
some more rotations. Keep rotating it. You need to put the juice to it, keep the battery from going down so quick.
Is that
Yeah.
safe?
Yeah. There's a fuel plug doing in there.
Huh? Yeah. I unplugged it from the cord, but the cord's plugged to the wall.
Hold on a minute.
I'm hanging on. Oh, and by the way, the blower motor works. I tried that.
Ooh.
Got some dust in my face, but it works. Hey, I'm gonna try the horn right quick.
All right.
Whoops. Hey guys, so we're back at it again, and I bought some new ignition parts. I don't have a lot of confidence in these ones. Basically the stuff I haven't already replaced, I'm gonna go ahead and replace. Cap, rotor, plug, wires, and then plugs. We already did the points, condenser, and coil. So if this thing, oh, and also when I have all the plugs out, I'm going to rotate the engine some more just to make sure all the oil's out of the cylinders. I was second guessing myself that maybe I didn't let it shoot enough oil out of the cylinders. Maybe there was enough in there to drown the spark. So that's my theory. I'm going to throw all these parts on here, and then I'm going to get back with y'all. Alright, so I got the spark plugs out, and I got the battery in there. So I'm going to turn it over and see if... Yeah. Spark plugs didn't look all that wet, except for maybe one or two of them. Yeah, and I don't think there was any noticeable amount of oil in the cylinder still. So I guess the next step is go ahead and just put the new spark plugs in. All right, everybody, we got all our ignition stuff put on there. I'm gonna turn it over and see what happens. All right, we're in park. Oh, we got something. There we go. She's running. She's idling. Oh yeah, look at all that smoke. Look at that, she's running. Yeah, boy. Got a little bit of an exhaust leak. You look at that. Turns out you know, when you got, yeah, we got a big exhaust leak right there, and maybe an exhaust leak down there. I couldn't tell earlier. It looked like maybe the pipe was cracked, but she's running. Daggum. But yeah, it turns out, you know, you need to replace your cheap little ignition parts after about 50 years of, or at least, you know, this thing I feel like it's been sitting probably at least 20 years. Let's find out. What was the tag on this thing? Oh, 94. Yeah. So over about 26 years, if my math's right. So yeah, all she needed was a little bit of, well, I think the carburetor rebuild helped it, of course, and then the ignition parts. I don't have the water pump hooked up. I haven't topped off the coolant yet. That's why I went ahead and cut it off. Let's see if we can start her again. I think my battery connections are a little bit loose. Either that or this battery's about had it. It was a cheap battery when I bought it. There we go. Oh jeez. That thing sounds good. All right, I gotta get some air. Whew. Yeah, I'm sure all that's good for your lungs. All right, everybody, that's it for this video. I'm going to be making a lot more videos on this car because this is my new project. And yeah, I've got big plans for this thing. Most of the parts that I need for this thing, I believe I already have. So it shouldn't be a very expensive build for me. I've been hoarding parts and then I can finally use them on this car. Interior parts, wheels, tires, hubcaps. But the interior parts is what's going to save me the most money. I've got a brand new radiator. So anyway, guys, hit that like and subscribe if you want to see some more of this car, because that's where you'll find it. I appreciate you guys watching and have a great day.